I'm Jim Check. You're watching Now Media with me, Ian Burns, managing editor. We got a kind of different setup here. I'm not sure what's going on, but we're here. It's Thursday, September 18th. Carney claims expert status. Interesting. U.S. and the U.K. ink a big deal. The Parliamentary Budget Office says no to cooking the books, and Macklem seems blind to the data. And more, the extreme Liberals rumored to be leaving. Bloc encouraging Alberta to find its freedom. More secretive spending by the Liberals, and Trump gets the royal treatment. All that and a lot more on the Really Big Show. We got lots to talk about, though. But the big one, obviously, is Carney claiming that he's the expert. I am the expert. Hey? I am a great expert.
I'm a great expert. Yeah, let's have the proper title.
Yeah, he found his funny bone too. He seems to want to make jokes all the time too, right? So I guess somebody told him that's how. Must be working off of David Eby's joke writer there. But I don't know if a lot of Canadians are in the joking mood. But he did say, I am the great expert. Thank you. And Carney told that to the Commons. So, hey. And then Polyev asked him, how big is that deficit? They don't want to answer that question, though, right? They don't want to answer that question. But I think the answer was a deficit absolutely higher.
But I mean, those two things are very strongly connected with each other. The fact that there's no budget and the fact that Mark Carney sells himself as an expert. Because that expert status is what got him elected as Prime Minister. And it's also what gives him a very, very easy ride in the press. So he's managed to just surf on down, hasn't he? He's having a great time. Yeah. And it's all based on this idea that he's some kind of superhuman with unique talents in the world of economics. And therefore, if he doesn't want to put out a budget till November, then he's going to be given the benefit of the doubt.
Let's play this clip here from the expert. The great expert, by the way, not just an expert.
Mr. Speaker, I know many things. I know many things. And one of the things I know, the member opposite, the leader of the opposition, just mentioned interest rates. One thing I know is that Canadian interest rates are much lower than American interest rates. They're lower because this country's fiscal situation is strong, because this government has a plan to grow this economy, and we will keep doing it. We'll keep it.
Mr. Speaker, the collapsing economy is bringing down interest rates, but the financial expert doesn't even know what his own deficit is. But another financial expert spoke yesterday. The Parliamentary Budget Officer said the deficit will absolutely be higher because of additional spending. He said he doesn't know what the government's fiscal anchors are because they do not exist. He says the labor market sucks and wages are not going up. These are quotes. Is this why Liberal members on the committee who heard those truth bombs threatened that the Prime Minister would fire the Parliamentary Budget Officer after 166 days?
That's always good news when you threaten to fire the guy that's trying to hold people to account. But what Carney said there was so disingenuous. They lowered the interest rates because it's like we have the strongest economy. No, we lowered the interest rate. We're in dire financial shape. Like, I mean, like our housing.
And also to compare it to the US, as was the case there, that was the context. It was a comparison with the US. Wow. I mean, either Mark Carney is nowhere near an economics expert, not even close, or he was being dishonest there. Because obviously the Americans have the ability, because of the strength of their economy, strength of their currency, their control basically of the world financial system, they have the ability to have higher interest rates, which is better for their economy and it makes their dollar stronger. It makes it, it's a power that they have because of the strength of their economy. For him to suggest that Canada's in such great shape and that's why we've had to put our interest rates down to like emergency levels while the Americans have a more normal interest rate. I was listening to that and I just thought, I kind of put myself in Polyev's shoes and I was like, how would I even come back at that? That's just such an extraordinary bit of deceit. How do you even respond to that level of dishonesty?
They need to get to where, like in the U.S. In the House and the Senate, where they bring charts and graphs at least, because they need to get to monitoring it. They need to just put
a
up
massive blown up picture.
They need to just put up the Canadian dollar, 72 cents, and he said, "Explain this, then. Explain this that's the Canadian purchasing power, 72 cents. Explain that to Canadians, why you've devalued their purchasing power, 72 cents versus the American dollar. That's the interest rate."
But he then tells us that it's because of how great our fiscal position is.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary. It's just, I couldn't believe it when he said that. And obviously the answer, I mean, I asked a rhetorical question. Obviously the answer is he is an expert, if you want to use that term. He obviously knows economics very, very well. So why did he do that? Why did he push that deceit? It's
the part that bothers
so depressing.
me, that he makes a joke about it when he clearly knows that that's not the truth. He makes a joke about it, and the rest of the minions in behind him just laugh it up and chuckle it up. I mean, maybe they don't know. Maybe they don't.
Yeah, probably they don't. Probably they don't.
But he's counting on you, the Canadian taxpayer, to not know. That's what he's counting on. Because
well, and he's also counting on this idea that he is the expert. So if he says that, he's counting on Canadians, and I mean even educated Canadians in positions of authority, to go, "Oh, I didn't think that was right, but I mean it's Mark Carney speaking. He is the expert." A lot of people do that, don't they? They defer to an expert just naturally by instinct. But no, there's a 200 basis point just about difference between the interest rates in Canada and America. That is not a good thing for Canada. And that doesn't mean that the Canadian economy is strong. I urge you to just do some Googling for 5 minutes and find out just how false a representation that is by Mark Carney.
And this is from the Parliamentary Budget Office. We said it yesterday, but it's worth saying again. And this is the guy that they threatened that maybe he won't have his job. He said, next week you're going to see a 5-year forecast from us. And if the government wants to go 12 months without producing a budget as a citizen, I would feel a little bit uncomfortable. As somebody who works in the Parliamentary Budget Office, I would say that's great for us because we'll occupy all the space they decide to give up. And we do have a little clip here from Jason Jacks here. Let's listen in on this.
Mr. Jakes, I really appreciate the fact that you recognize we are not all accountants here, and that you're going to help us understand things. So in that vein, for regular Canadians, can you explain just in simple words, what the Liberals mean when they say they're going to separate an operating budget from a capital budget? Like, what changes on the books when they do that?
So to answer your last question first, the bottom line of the government will not change. So the international public sector standards that everyone uses to measure the deficit and levels of debt, that will not change. And the first reason that won't change is those are the accounting standards. The second reason is the ratings agencies won't let you change it. Like, that's the first thing they're going to go to. And if they have a sniff that somehow there's a change in presentation, you bet your boots that we're going to be paying more for debt pretty quickly. In terms of operating and capital, again, we, on our end, we don't know what the government precisely has in mind. So there's been no backgrounder published on the website. In some of the communication materials, the government has mentioned the UK, the United Kingdom, who's had a similar system in place. In that situation, on the operating side, the UK includes the operating expenses that I mentioned earlier, so the traditional measure, in addition to other types of transfer payments. On the capital side, they include the traditional measure as well as transfer payments, or money that's being paid out to third parties who also invest in capital. So in the case, we have a report that's going to be coming out on Thursday that looks at infrastructure spending. So the federal government transfers, I don't know, over the next 5 years, I think it's going to be over $100 billion to provinces, municipalities, and First Nations to spend on infrastructure. That doesn't show up as capital spending for the federal government, but it's actually resulting in building capital assets. So that's something that they could have in mind. I don't know. I'm not inside the tent, so.
Okay, so
stop it there. So, I mean, I think what they're going to do is they're probably going to stick with the accounting standards because they do have to do that for the, like the debt rating agencies and that. But they might be trying to present a different set of books for the public. Not much different than what BC did there, the finance minister recognizing all that revenue in her budget update there, recognizing all the revenue that's going to get paid over the next 8 years. But she recognized all that revenue like in year one. It made her report look better. But,
from the tobacco settlement, you mean? Yeah.
But that's not in revenue recognition. That's not, like that's something that should be spread out over 8 years, right? Not recognized as. But
again, I would say you're concerned that they might try and pull the wool over the public's eyes and say, here's a deficit of X sum, whereas really it's double that. You're worried about that, but I'm not as worried as you are, Jim, because obviously we have such a good media in this country that they are going to draw the public's attention to the real figure. So everyone's going to know. They're not going to be able to get away with it, are they?
The only person that's going to do anything likely about it is Holly Downs from Blacklock, because she's got a connection with this guy. And then we're going to talk about it. But everybody else is going to waive the report that they bring out there, that this is the new different type of budget. This is the investment budget. This is what you need to look at. Look at this shiny bottle over here. Never mind looking at what we use, because accounting is about a measure, right? Accounting is about you measured something a certain way, because that's what it's about. So you measured something a certain way for 10 years, and now you want to change that measure. Obviously, that's not accounting anymore because you're changing the measure. So you need to have a baseline, and then by changing, the way you look at it is just, like that's what you call misleading.
It's just fiddling with stats, something that you've mentioned a lot of times on the show, and you see it all the time, don't you? But it's supposed to be there are supposed to be straight shooters out there like this guy, but also in the media are supposed to say, actually, this is what's happening, and that's supposed to inform the public discourse. But sadly, in Canada, very often that doesn't happen. There either is no straight shooter, there's nobody there as a watchdog or as somebody to scrutinize, or somebody is there and they're just completely ignored by the Liberal Party's press office, aka CTV and CBC.
When I was a youngster working in a CA firm, we did the file, and I think maybe I was 2 or 3 years in, and we presented. I was finally let in the room to present financial statements to clients, and I presented the statements to the clients, and it it showed a pretty good year, and she says to me, "Okay, that's great. Now, can we do the statements for the government?" I'm like, "These are the statements for the government." And she's like, No. These show income. We need to do a separate set of statements for the government. These are for my investors. I need a separate set of statements for the government. Like, what? Yeah, she was serious. She actually wanted 2 sets of statements. And I said, well, we can't do that. These are the statements.
Well, one that showed lower income, so the tax will be lower.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. So there's the regulatory ones, like this is what this guy's going to do, because he's not going to vary from accounting standards, because these are not set by the government. These are set by, financial bodies and the debt rating agencies and that. And then, and the government's going to say, well, you don't understand that. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So we're going to give you this report, which doesn't have any it's not going to have an audited report on it or anything. It's just going to be like, look at this. Isn't this beautiful and shiny?
But the thing is, how are they then going to explain when Moody's comes out and relegates the Canadian debt? What are they going to say? That was Trump, obviously.
No,
No, but I'm saying, because they'll be feeding the public a completely different picture. Then suddenly Moody's, they'll get the real picture of whoever it is, whichever ratings agency, and they'll say, I don't like this. I'm gonna demote Canada's debt ranking.
Yeah.
And then how are they going to explain that? How's the Liberal government going to explain that, other than Donald Trump, of course?
Who's going to report
it? They'll report the bit where they say, that's Trump's fault.
There you go. And then, again, if I think, Pierre, Polly, if you're listening, start bringing charts in. When Mark Carney gets up and starts talking about how the best G7 in the nation, just put this chart up and say, explain this. Just explain it. Explain it to the Canadian public. Explain how this is a good thing. Explain how this is the strongest G7 nation economy. Explain it. Explain why.
What's so sad is this is just one of many, isn't it? And they all look the same. They all have that same trajectory.
Why can't they bring charts in there? They can do that in the U.S. Congress and they can bring it in the Senate, they bring out the charts and they say, explain this, right? Like, I mean, at this day in technology, they should be able to put up on the big screen. Explain that to me.
Well, they do it at the UN as well, don't they? Benjamin Netanyahu loves a good chart, doesn't he? He brings it in all the time.
Like, just talk around this. Explain this. The industrial implosion. Explain it. I don't know.
I would we didn't talk about Jacques here earlier on. Just such a funny line where he said, if the government wants to take 10 months before they put up an Excel spreadsheet that indicates what their deficit estimates are. I mean, that is such a slap in the face that I just wanted to kind of underline that.
For an accountant, that is like right to the edge of the line. You know what I mean? Because they're very couched in what they say. Do you know what I mean? Like,
but he's basically saying a budget is easy. Like, it's not exactly like it takes you 10 months to come up with this. And he's also saying it's estimates. It's a political document, isn't it? As people like to say, it's not like something he would have to put out that would have to be like immaculate and flawless. It's just it's a lot of guff, really, isn't it? A budget.
I do budgets all the time. So here's the thing: the budget it's an ongoing thing. They can continue to work. It's not like they're creating a budget from scratch where they get everybody to do it. That budget's been around forever. So they add lines to it. You know what I mean? That spreadsheet, it's been around forever. So the budget is there. They're just not disclosing it. That's the thing. That's the difference. So that's the truth of the matter. They have the budget. They understand what it is, because Carney's a financial guy. Like, I guarantee 100% that he has a budget that he's looking at. He's had it all along. The real truth of the matter is, you have it, you won't disclose it. And you won't even disclose it to the Parliamentary Budget Office. That's the interesting part, don't you think? That's whose money is it? Whose money is it? I guess Canadians should ask, whose money is it? And who's responsible for this?
It increasingly looks like it's the Liberal Party's money, really, doesn't it? Just like it's the Liberal Party's information on any number of subjects that they choose to conceal from the public.
Canadians need to start getting more questioning and more anxious and more angry. Here's another one, and should be more Canadians getting more angry. So here's the number of Canadians on unemployment insurance hit a 7-year high. Okay.
Wow.
Explain that one. While we continue to run immigration at high levels. Explain it.
I think it can be explained with the words Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, Trump did it.
3 words.
And here's a famous, I would call him a financial influencer, Kevin O'Leary. I love his garb. Like, he's always
got Disney pants on.
Well, that's his shtick. He wears like suit kind of look up top. He's kind of like the Don Cherry of the financial world. Suit kind of up top, but he's always wearing these flannel kind of like Disney pants. And lots of times when you'll see him, and like if he's on CNBC or something, he'll have a suit on. But then if they show the whole thing, he's wearing these fluffy pants. Let's listen to what Kevin O'Leary has to say.
Reason this thing happened to us and Trump, I thought it was Trudeau. I was there in November when they came down pre-inauguration. I had no idea how much Trump disliked her. And why? Because during his first mandate, during his first term, she kept throwing barbs at him all around the world along with Trudeau. I thought it was Trudeau he didn't like. He disliked her more than anything and pointed that out to Carney. She is the reason we're in this situation. It's at her feet. 100% of the blame is on her. So forget about NAFTA. If that's what we got out of NAFTA, we end in this situation where we have an adversary with 71% of our buying comes out of the United States. Carney's got to fix that. I like the fact he's diversifying, but do not forget the destruction she did with the United States and her relationship with Trump, who's a very transactional guy, and relationships matter. He's an elephant. He doesn't forget. I'm not supporting him. I'm telling you how it is. I'm a policy guy. And then look what she did to the Huawei executive's daughter. That was sheer stupidity. And she destroyed our relationship with China. To ask any farmer that tried to ship hogs over there or grains, that's at her feet. She owns.
Fan of Chrystia Freeland.
Yeah. I'd actually put the Huawei thing out of my mind, but that is quite a good point. Though that was done supposedly at the behest of the United States. So, I mean, it's quite a complicated one. But it's certainly true that, I mean, it's on the record. Donald Trump absolutely loathes Chrystia Freeland. He despises that woman. And if you're trying to make up with a country, it's probably not a great idea to have somebody like that hanging around negotiations. or even in your government in any capacity.
I mean, she's part of the liberals that started hiding all the information. I mean, if you remember back to Harper, there was so much media attention on, I think it was a $10, $13 glass of orange juice, that we were nitpicking on orange juice. And here now billions and billions of dollars go unreported and secretive, and no media attention, nothing, just quiet.
Or even worse than that, I think there's a little bit of attention and it just dies away instantly. So it's like they can say like, "Oh, look, we did it," but it's kind of like it's not being turned into a story. That requires like consistent reporting and moving the story on. That's what doesn't happen, and that is what happened with the orange juice. That's why it hung around in the news cycle for so long, because people kept trying to get it out there.
There's more rumors of more people leaving the cabinet as well. And here's the environmental extremist, Stephen Guilbeault, also responsible for a lot of the carnage of the last 10 years of Liberal policy that have destroyed the economy of Canada. Rumors that he will leave in on October 19th as soon as he collects that pension, and then he can put his orange suit back on. And yeah.
Join the protests at the weekend. Yeah. That's what he can do. But yeah, I mean, Stephen Guilbeault, you were mentioning the opacity of Chrystia Freeland and the Liberals in general. He's another example of that. I'm still waiting on a response from him to speak to him about Bill C-18. It's not like I'm trying to ask him a question about something really obscure. I'm trying to ask him about Bill C-18, which is a topic that, as we've discussed, for some mysterious reason, we are at the absolute forefront of Canadian media as a publication. So there's no excuse not to talk to us, and he's ignoring all of my requests, which I think that says a lot. I think that should sort of reverberate around people's heads. He would rather just ignore emails and ignore interview requests than face the public, whom he serves. We're led to believe.
Talking about interviews today on the docket, we have, I think at 10:30, we have one of the representatives for Draw the Line, an environmental group that is angry at Mark Carney and wants to draw the line. I'm sure Guilbeault would be a fan of theirs. And also we have later Eleanor Sturko, MLA. She'll be here in studio. And then later in the day, we will have Tom Dias, the mayor of Kelowna. And I did get a communication from the finance minister's office of BC here, and it sounds like they're trying to, now they've cut it back from 30 minutes to 15, but they say they're trying to find a time, so at least they're communicating. Whereas in Guilbeault's instance, he just ignores the email and says anybody talking about Bill C-18 is immoral, even though it's crippled media in Canada.
To be fair to the BC press office, all press offices can be a little bit sort of slimy and annoying, but the BC government's press office is a lot better than the federal government's. The federal government, I've said this before, without rival, it is the worst press office. And I mean all of the departments. I don't just mean, I'm not just talking about one department or one ministry. They are so bad. The worst I've ever encountered in my career in journalism. Like I said, I've never experienced in my career as a journalist, I've never experienced a public official just ignore your emails repeatedly.
You should ask, if I was a reporter and I got to sit there and ask in that finance committee, Jason Jacques there, I would say this Liberal government ran on transparency and accountability. What do you see?
But
he can't even get it.
The real heartbreak is,
yeah,
you acknowledge that, and then there's the next step, and that's where the heartbreak is, which is nobody seems to care. Liberal Party is still ahead in the polls. They just won an election. Nobody seems to care. Nobody seems bothered. They're not bothered that this government for the last 10 years, or this party in charge for the last 10 years, has made almost every effort possible to conceal information from the public. Where's the outrage? I really don't sense. I don't sense it in the air that people are upset about that.
Canadians need to put their paycheck on the table and say, there's half for the government. And then you should ask the government what they're doing with that money, because they'll tell you. We can't tell you what we're doing with it. You don't want to know.
They can't even get through to CRA, so you certainly won't be told anything.
We always have Fool of the Day, and we're going to listen to Philippe Champagne. Let's listen in on Francois here.
Mr. Speaker, it's a great question, and indeed, we're going to present a great budget in this House on the 4th of November, Mr. Speaker. This is going to be a generational investment in our future. We're going to build this country, Mr. Speaker. We're going to protect our communities. We're going to empower Canadians. We're going to build the strongest economy in the G7. We're going to build this country like never before. We're going to build the Canada of the 21st century. Mr. Speaker, we are the true north, strong and free.
The honourable member.
Mr.
Did he
I mean,
spend
it's lucky for us, isn't it, that we can look back at his time in government, his long time in cabinet, and see all of his victories, and then we can say, yeah, he's right. Actually, look at the evidence. That is what he's going to do.
I think he spent 5 minutes in the chambers with Justin Trudeau on drama teaching. And he went out there and did his little slogan speech there. Like, I mean, what they've accomplished in 10 years, like that's, again, they should put up the chart. Show me, like you just said, show me the evidence. Show me where this is going to be. Why haven't you tabled the budget? Why haven't you provided it to the PBO? Where? Where is it?
Why haven't you done anything at all over the last several years to fix the GDP per capita gap that has emerged between Canada and the United States? Not in Canada and other countries as well, not even just the United States.
But they have their Trump card and they use it all the time. And Francois Philippe Champagne said it's sad that the United States turns its back on Canada, and he blames Trump. It said it has imposed a lot of costs that is upcoming in budget that the budget will attempt to cover.
That's a signal, isn't it?
Your policies over the past 10 years have crippled Canada and put it at the mercy of one customer. And then your policies of enraging that same person, like Chrystia Freeland, like Kevin O'Leary said, your policies and your actions have put us where we are. Where have you heard in the past 6 months, year, where the Liberals have taken any responsibility for anything over the past 10 years? That chart, like take a look at that chart. Trump doesn't belong in that chart. There's no Trump in that chart. Where is it?
Yeah. But that's a taster, I think, a preview of what his speech is going to be like in the House of Commons when he delivers the budget. It's going to be a lot of Donald Trump made this happen kind of thing. And that's going to be the excuse.
Yeah. And just so you haven't heard enough from Frank here, let's play a little more from Frank. Let's be frank.
Colleague, for giving me the opportunity to share good news with this House, Mr. Speaker. In fact, the rate has gone down, Mr. Speaker, 2.5% today. The Bank of Canada just announced, Mr. Speaker. The Conservatives should celebrate. Consumers are celebrating. Businesses are celebrating. Canada is celebrating, Mr. Speaker. One thing that it tells to all Canadians, our plan is working. We're going to build the strongest economy in the G7.
Can we get a list?
2.5%.
Can we?
What? Am I the only one that heard that? 2.5%?
No, it's down to 2.5. Down to 2.5.
Oh, okay. I thought he was saying it'd come down by.
Yeah,
I'll let you off then, Frankie.
But like, where are the? Can you give us a list of these businesses that are celebrating? I know that the Liberals are celebrating, but like, who's this list of people celebrating? The person that just got his job cut, is that the person celebrating? The company that's lost its business, is that the people celebrating? Who's celebrating? I shared it with, I did Beyond the Ballot yesterday with Renee Merrifield, former MLA here. And I showed her an image that was on my Instagram, an ad, I believe it was from Moody's, recruiting capital, asking people to come to sessions to figure out how to leave for the United States. And they're getting lots of people going to these things. And she said that her kids are getting recruitment things to go to the United States. There's, like they're saying, oh, you can buy Donald Trump's $5 million gold card, but there's a bunch of other ways you can get to the United States as well. So they're actually going after people with means, and that was put out by the PBO's office. Remember that? I think it was about 6 months ago. That said, with these policies the Liberal government has put into place, Canadians with means will leave, and the rest will be out there killing all the wildlife just to survive. I didn't say it.
Well, we're certainly already seeing, I mean, as a consequence of this huge gap between the Federal Reserve's interest rate and the Bank of Canada's interest rate, we're already seeing a massive transfer of money from Canadian debt to American debt, because obviously you're going to get more money if you buy American bonds because the rate is higher.
Guess who else buys
We've already
American
seen
bonds?
that alongside lots of other investment that's sort of leaked out of Canada.
Who else put their investments there? All right.
Well, he is an expert.
Mark Carney and Brookfield, for that matter. But meanwhile,
That's what
in Canada,
experts do.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in Canada, beef prices in Canada reached all-time highs. The average cost increased by 25% in the last year. Who eats beef, right?
But I mean, another thing to look at there is like, it's not like we're short on cows, put it that way. I mean, hell of a lot of cows in Canada. Lots of land for pasture as well.
We got
It's
another
no
clip here
excuse,
for-
really, is there?
Let's play this clip, and I can't remember what this clip was, so it didn't.
Mr. Speaker, I know many things. I know many things. And one of the things I know, the member opposite, the leader of the opposition, just mentioned interest rates.
That's
One
why
thing
I
I
cut
know-
that. Yeah, that's why that's there, and I was just like, it was just in there twice. There you go. But
So good you had to hear it twice.
yeah, the jokes are great. The jokes. I'm sure when you're there trying to make 89% of Canadians. That's another stat. 89% of Canadians, according to a recent poll, are $200 away from meeting their financial obligations. So I'm sure the joke plays well. I'm sure they're all just chuckling away.
I'm sure they feel very relieved to know that the Prime Minister knows many things as well.
Great expert. I am the great expert. You know who else said that? Fauci said that. Remember, I am the science. So you can just put that right there. I am the science.
That is, if you wanted a single sentence, that would show, that would be the opposite of what science really is. It would be that I am the science. That is precisely opposite to what science actually is and what it means.
Well, from what we see for the results, when I say I am the great expert, it might go down as one of the stand next to there. Stand under your sign. But here's the Bloc, Yves-François Blanchet, encouraging. And we talked about this a while ago, and I said the Bloc is going to use Alberta as a way to get Quebec independence. Here, let's listen in on Yves-François Blanchet.
Give a boost to the sovereignty movement.
Of course, if people in Quebec want to remain Quebecers, they will have to think faster and faster and stronger about the idea of having a country of their own, which will befriend with its neighbors. And not a bad timing, because I seem to understand that the numbers of the Parti québécois are not so bad.
Anglais. Monsieur Saint-Pierre Plamondon just had a successful visit to Alberta, where he built a number of bridges with independence leaders in Alberta. Are you planning in the near future to travel to Alberta yourself or meet with leaders of Alberta's independence movement?
I had thought about it, but I understand that since Paul did it, it is not necessary for me to do that trip. But I'm very open to this idea. We have to start all independentist voices and leaders to explain who we are, what we want, the way we would do it, and what it would be the morning after. We have to do that. This is what I do when I go in Washington, also when I go in Paris or everywhere. And we have to do that in Canada also, because if it comes, we've got to make it smooth and best for everybody.
I said this a while ago that Blanchet is going to stoke the fires of Alberta independence so that under the cover of darkness or in the chaos, Quebec will find an easier path out.
Yeah. So I think he is a bit of a mug, I have to say, when he says we'll be friends with our neighbours and all that kind of thing. If an independent Quebec ever did come off, I don't think they would get gobbled up by the Americans almost immediately anyway, in terms of their defense and economy and all the rest of it. But they'd also be oppressed by Canada. I don't think they wouldn't be friends with everybody. It just wouldn't work like that. Maybe it would in like 1995 or something, but we're not in that time now.
Yeah, I'm sure though, like if like that in his mind, if that Alberta independence moves forward, that would end Canada. And then I think he sees in that chaos, Quebec gets an easy path out, because they did two referendums on this already in the past. and third time's a charm.
But if Canada came to an end, do people that actually desire that? Do they think that those countries, let's say, I doubt it would be 10 countries, but let's just say several countries, do they really think that they would be able to resist the United States in any way whatsoever? I mean, they would just be completely chewed up. It would happen within a decade. I just think that's so naive.
I think they need to really find a strong leader, not an expert, a strong leader that stands up for a united Canada, that also talks about accountability and transparency, because this hiding and secrecy and all this stuff and this paid for media that doesn't hold power to account is not going to work for very long. I mean, people are getting fed up. And here's another reason that Canada found room so they could move interest rates down, because they needed to, because our economy sucks so bad, is that the U.S. cut their rates, right? I mean, we said that they're waiting. That's why that pause was there. They were waiting for the American markets to move down, and they're, because otherwise our dollar would even sink lower, right?
Yeah, but there's still a huge gap. So it's 175, and that is the gap. That's rather
but again,
significant.
Look at it though. Look at our dollar though, right? 72 cents.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, your dollar is your stock. That's the stock of your company. Like, like we talk about a stock exchange, the dollar is the stock, right? So our dollar, or our stock of Canada, is trading at a discount to the Americans.
Big time.
No recession, says Macklem, though. He says even though we had some weak numbers, slow growth, it's not going to feel good. It's growth, but it's slow. I think he's like, you got to take everything this guy says with a grain of salt. But he's seen lots of job losses. One thing that has changed in July is the rest of the economy really is still growing. Unemployment at 7.1% is not a good number. Not a good number. You had 10% and you're in chaos. And there you go, TIFF. So
he just doesn't ever seem to meet the moment, does he? God bless him.
God bless him. Somebody should bless him. The Commons Ethics Committee last night adopted a conservative motion targeting blind trust, similar to the one used by Carney to conceal his vast stock holdings. And they said that was Michael Barrett that's pushing for the sponsor of the motion. Postals and journalists and other columnists will often remind us Canadians' confidence in public institutions is low. Now is the time. I wonder why. Do you know what I mean? Because like all this secrecy and stuff like that. So this is just saying you got to disclose stuff, right? And the Carney used that loophole, right? And Bloc Quebec MP Luc Thurn said, if you want to work in politics, then you must need to meet the criteria so there's no conflict of interest or appearance of conflict. Because the conflict of interest is not only actually doing something in conflict, it's actually being, it's the appearance of conflict as well, right? So, I mean, this is the transparency in Canada. It needs to go up about 100 notches. And like all this, the financial interest that Mark Carney has. I mean, I think he tried to portray himself as not even as a multi-millionaire when he started running for PM. And I said either he's one of the worst CEO of all time, or he's lying, because he was the CEO of one of the biggest companies in Canada. And if he's trying to portray that he barely made a living there, that's got to be a lie. It turns out, looks like I was right.
But still, again, I have to go back to it, and I know it's a very gloomy, depressing thing to say, but nobody seems to care. That Mark Carney, just even that in his own financial holdings, that is the people that voted for Mark Carney and support Mark Carney. I think there's a hell of a lot of crossover between the people that back Mark Carney and the people who were furious and disgusted by Donald Trump's refusal to release his tax returns. If you remember the big scandal about that for so many years. But they're just not bothered about Mark Carney. They don't care when he does it.
So the difference here is that we have small outlets like ourselves and Blacklocks that'll throw up a spark, right, and say, look at this. And the big media outlets, the ones with the voice in Canada, don't do anything about it. Like, they don't cause a stir. We've seen when they've caused a stir. When Justin Trudeau, when the carnage was so bad for Trudeau, I mean, didn't it come out? I mean, there was enough there. There was like a fever pitch there for getting rid of Trudeau and building up Carney, just like that. The media is compromised in Canada, and compromised intentionally by the Liberal Party. There's no other explanation.
But it's also,
yeah.
Someone here has just said something quite interesting. Alberta Nan there on YouTube saying most people don't understand it, so they pay no attention. But I would go back to what I just said about Donald Trump. He was just like a foreigner anyway, not even Canadian. But these same people, I'm convinced that these are the same people who were freaking out about Donald Trump's investments and Donald Trump's tax returns. But when it comes to their dude, it's just like, it'll be legit.
Yeah, but it was the media that whips him into the fever pitch, and the media is the one doing it. Like, look at the CTV headlines and CBC headlines. Look at this. This should be a big story. This should be huge. DEI spending tops $1 billion. Do we have $1 billion to spend on this? Apparently we do. Like, listen to some of these. The Department of Agriculture spent $90,000 for harvesting, processing, storage of cultural vegetables to strengthen food security and equity-deserving Black communities in London, Ontario. The Department of Veterans Affairs, there's some big ones in here.
What's a cultural vegetable? Come on, what is a cultural vegetable?
The Department of Public Safety awarded $500,000 in the city of Charlottetown to host an immigrant youth camp in PEI. Campers are encouraged to learn cooking skills. $500,000 for an immigrant youth camp.
What the hell?
One of the largest grants, listen to this one, $25 million paid by the Department of Industry to the Canadian Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce. And that was to strengthen Canadians' entrepreneurship and the ecosystem to be more accessible to the LGBTQ community. Where'd the money go, though? For what?
I mean, I can't be the only person hearing that to have just learned about the existence of the Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce. I didn't know such a thing existed or why it exists. But
here's another one. The Prairies Economic Development Canada said it spent $190 million related to diversity, equity, and inclusion ventures, but could not explain why. They conducted a search of grants and contributions, managed to using keywords, and they couldn't find anything.
I can't take my eyes off this $90,000 for harvesting, processing, and storing cultural vegetables to strengthen food security in equity-deserving Black communities. So not like those equity undeserving Black communities. Forget them. This is about equity-deserving Black communities with a capital B as well, if you were wondering.
$420,000 to the African Center of Technology Studies by the International Development Research Center. Lots of good names. Not possible to describe what specific benefits have been achieved as a result of this grant.
It is about the names, isn't it? In part, though. It's about what you call your organization.
For sure. And I remember, again, when I was working in a CA firm as a young guy, there was and I'm just going to use like Inco, like there was, Inco Inc. or whatever, like a big mining company. They had, they're a big company. And so this person figured out a thing just like they would do Inco .co or whatever, like a corporation. Similar name to them. And they would file GST returns for $1 million refunds. And the government processed them. Twice. And then the third time when he did it, they caught him. I mean, he just got greedy, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, should have took the money and run.
Anyway.
Think of all the cultural vegetables you could buy with that kind of money.
I remember yesterday, this dental program that they talk about so much, that the Liberals and the NDP gave you, they spent almost $500,000, 500 million, I was going to say thousand, $500 million on the management of this, administering this program, not for delivering services. This is paid to third-party vendors.
And then you wonder why so many people push for these things, and you might wonder why they're pushing for it. It's kind of like, you're not going to, this is not going to be for you. I mean, why are you so interested in this program? There's the answer. Because there's millions of dollars to be made.
How do people not get angry when the Liberals, after 10 years of running this country, won't even table a budget? And then they want to kind of mess with the books too. I mean, that's what they're front running right now. That's what the media's front running. Remember that question yesterday? You said it was incompetence more than it was guilt. Saying, Pierre Poilievre, will you support this budget? And he's like, what budget? I don't have a copy. Do you have a copy? They just want blind adherence to the liberal mantra. Here we go again. Anita Anand won't disclose Gaza funding. Why should she? Right? Why should she? The fund is unable to provide a full list of contributions related to the request due to confidentiality. That's what she wrote. What confidentiality?
I mean, it's just the same thing again and again, isn't it?
I mean,
it's literally the same story with different characters.
Yeah, well, you think about it yesterday. Chrystia Freeland, listen to this, Canadians. Chrystia Freeland resigned her post in the cabinet, not her MP status, her post in cabinet, to take on the role as the Ukrainian envoy for the reconstruction of Ukraine, which obviously is not going on right now. But just back it up a few months. Mark Carney promised $4 billion to the Ukraine for the reconstruction of Ukraine. And then we've asked where the money that we've already sent to Ukraine, where it was used, and they told us they can't tell us. How's that?
National security. And then this one, they're saying the excuse for this one is we can't do that because if we do, it might put them in danger, might put the organizations in danger to know that.
You mean the ones that are having bombs dropped
we're
on their head?
them.
Hey, the bombs, the ones that have bombs dropped on their head every day that put them in danger?
But you could also be, you could be general, couldn't you? You could explain things in a way that still kept them safe from Hamas.
Well, they got a partial list of $35,000 a grant paid to operate psychosocial health legal support, $35,000 to counter negative stereotypes. What? Right now, that's what they're worried about in Gaza is negative stereotypes? $33,000 for computer pants for develop use artificial intelligence. $33,000. Like, what would that get you? Like, this money is going into some people's pockets. That's where it's going, right?
Empowering women farmers on climate change. Again, is that what they're up to in Gaza, do you think? They've got like no buildings left.
Hey, number one on the list right now. If we only had some money from Canada to develop farms here for climate change.
But this is
not
like
just farms, not just farms, climate change farms, right? As the bombs rain on their head.
Because that's what they're gonna say. Oh well, we could grow this many tomatoes. We could grow 10,000 tomatoes next year. However, it would not be good for the climate. So let's grow 5,000 tomatoes, but it'll be good for the climate. It's like, you think they're going to do that in Gaza? But this is a perfect example of how stupid and self-defeating a lot of aid really is. And Canada seems to be a bit behind on this. Other sort of Western countries have started to change their approach to aid because they've recognized that this is just dumb. It just doesn't achieve anything. And even what they always argue, they say, like when they're trying to be pragmatic, the defenders of these kind of programs, they'll say, this is soft power. Like we give this money and it raises our prestige in around the world, and this benefits us directly. It's a good idea. But I'm not so sure. How can it be soft power when it's being ridiculed, when it's just quite transparently absurd? That's not soft power. That's kind of, it's, soft weakness.
Canadians need to start getting angry, and if you like what this show that's more open in that, if you could help us share it, because Bill C-18 has taken away our audience of 200,000 that we had on Facebook and Instagram. They've crippled local independent media in Canada. Knowingly, they've crippled it. Close to 100 outlets have already failed in Canada, and more are failing, and they prop up the ones they select and then feed at the trough for the CBC now at $1.55 billion. And they also won't disclose what they do with their money. They don't want to share that. The CBC, the public broadcaster, doesn't want to share how they spend the money either. Isn't that amazing?
It's almost like everybody spending taxpayers' money they just want privacy, don't they? They need some private time.
Canada and Mexico to sign a strategic partnership agreement. We'll see. The CUSMA deal is up for negotiation too. I can't imagine Mexico doing anything that would rile the Americans, but hey.
And also, It's just 5 minutes ago that they were at each other's throats.
Yeah.
Doug Ford coming out with stupid comments, and then actually Trudeau as well. And then you also had Sheinbaum, a real like low blow and a very sort of tacky, cheap attack against Canada, where she was like, Canada could only wish that to have like a fraction of the culture that we have in Mexico or something like that. It's like, what are you on about? What a strange comment, but highly insulting and very cheeky.
And then David Eby's actually landed in Ottawa to meet the Prime Minister there. And he said, BC has tens of billions of dollars of projects ready to move forward. I don't know, he should provide that list. I'd like to see it. I do have the Finance Minister, hopefully in the next while, so maybe we'll ask for that list. I know that give credit where credit's due, that LNG thing in the Northwest Coast. Great that they finally found an epiphany that LNG is good. But other than that, I don't know if wind farms is going to cut it.
Well, certainly not what Donald Trump thinks. If you watched the press conference earlier, where Keir Starmer, one of the greatest supporters of wind in the world, probably the greatest advocate of wind power, stood next to him, and Donald Trump said, "Wind's a load of garbage," or something like that. It's just a waste of time.
So that, speaking of that, they did sign a landmark deal there. Trump there getting the royal treatment as well, but he did also sit down with your friend Keir Starmer. You've met Keir Starmer and interviewed him before, actually. So we got to listen in here as this landmark deal. We won't listen to the whole thing because it's long. Keir Starmer goes on and on and on, and so does Donald Trump. But you don't have to listen to Donald Trump. He says the same thing over and over again, right? But
it never would have happened.
Here's Keir.
Spirit combined with British ideas and ingenuity. The UK is one of the world's largest economies. Maybe not quite on the scale of the United States, I concede, but my word, we punch above our weight. And we lead the world in expertise on quantum, on AI, life sciences, financial services and more. We have the only trillion-dollar tech sector in the West, outside of the US, again, I caveat. We have the best investment, the best universities, the most Nobel Prizes, and we have Demis here, outside the US.
That's good. That's good.
That's what we...
Because he does that basically outside the US, outside the US, outside the US. But it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And Trump took some might with him there, too. He took Jensen Huang. He took the guys from Google. He took the guys, all the big tech heavyweight guys were there in the room. And they signed some deals. And, this is a deal Canada should be making. And they got a bunch of deals. And Carney says they have the best deal with the United States. So, well, somebody's lying there because Keir just said that the UK has the best deal with the United States than anybody else in the world. So,
I think that's wrong. Actually, I think it is right when Carney says that. But it's interesting that you mentioned Jensen Huang and these big dogs who turned up. That might seem like it's just another nice dinner with some celebrities knocking around or something like that. But it is actually a very important thing, isn't it, that people like that go there? Because we could only dream of that in Canada, couldn't we? Of having all these people come to Canada and talk about and do deals in Canada. Bear in mind, Jensen Huang's company, NVIDIA, has a market cap of a similar size to the entire British economy. It's larger than Canada's economy.
Yeah. No, that's what I mean. These are big deal guys.
Saying how big the British economy is. This one guy, Jensen Huang, his company is basically the same size as the British economy in terms of numbers.
They had the largest, basically almost all the largest companies there, other than Elon Musk, him and Trump are on the outs. But Trump is now saying, more positive things about Elon. But they had all the big players in the room, and you've said in the past that the UK is a player in the AI space, and it sounds like they're going to put some money there. They have lots of good stuff. I mean, some of the biotech firms are big in the UK as well, and it sounds like a lot of stuff. I think this is a great deal for the UK and a great deal for the United States, and and also their aerospace is pretty strong too. So
yeah, and there's a lot of space for cooperation, isn't there? And you have to ask yourself, like, what's the difference then? Why have the British got this and the Canadians haven't? And in large part, it's our good friend Keir Starmer who's been very accommodating and very pragmatic and very
He played it completely different, didn't he?
servile even to Trump.
He played it completely different than Chrystia Freeland, with the tanks rolling in the streets, the Trump's a Nazi and fascist. Their connection to Obama and Biden and Kamala Harris, they played that card too long. Do you know what I mean? Like they thought those people had their back, and they don't. And this is like if you look at this pomp and regalia here in Windsor Castle there, King Arthur would be proud. And I think Donald Trump looking around that room there is like, well, I don't know why I have a hall like this. He keeps saying he's building a grand hall, right, in the White House with his own money. But no amount of money can build this, I don't think. Let me play a little clip here.
Therefore, as we celebrate this unparalleled partnership, allow me to propose a toast to President Trump and the First Lady, and to the health, prosperity, and happiness of the people of the United States of America.
That's good. There. You notice that Marco Rubio is really getting he's really he's like at the right hand of Trump almost all the time. And I know that J.D. Vance is not supposed to be at his right hand all the time because they try to keep them apart in case there's assassination attempts on the president. So that's one of the negatives of the vice president. He's not supposed to travel with the president very often. Whereas Marco Rubio definitely is at the right hand of Trump all the time. And he's one of the smarter guys that, on this planet, I think, Marco Rubio. Very well spoken. Man that's very proud of his heritage as well. I know, I was wondering what they were speaking there, because it's King Charles went off about British history and, like the greatness of the Brits. And then, and then also, even talked about, I don't know if you listened to the whole speech by King Charles, and talked about even the, George Washington said he would never set foot in England again, because, he was the turncoat or whatever. And
he referred to him as the rebel commander.
Yeah. So, and then just how great both the Americans were, and basically the Americans were ex-English guys, right? I mean, most of the people in America that started America were from England, right? They were turncoats.
Not just ex-English, but they even refer to themselves as English. This is the glory of primary sources, and I would advise anybody interested in that period of American history, read the primary sources. They literally refer to themselves as Englishmen, and that includes George Washington.
It's really about
to give you an idea of what they thought.
The war is about independence. It wasn't so. America is an extension of England, really, for that matter. I mean, it is. Yeah. It was the extension. It was the colony that turned into, it obviously did a really good job with that colony, becoming the strongest.
But they were, they saw themselves, England was split between the Whigs and the Tories, very loosely speaking, let's say, people who were pro-parliament and people who were pro-monarchy. They were from the parliamentary side, and that is literally by blood as well. A lot of them that migrated to America were on the parliamentary side in the Civil War. They didn't really like the monarchy or royal authority. They wanted a constitutional monarchy, pretty much. And then when George III tried to be not quite a constitutional monarch, let's say, then they pushed back against that, just as they did in the 1640s in England. So it all goes back to England. And I think Trump's speech, I don't know who wrote that speech, but it was actually quite poetic. It was quite beautiful, actually, where he was referring to Britain and the US as two notes in the same chord. I just thought that was a really nice turn of phrase. I don't know. It is. I don't know if that was taken from someone else, but that was a lovely little phrase. And there was lots of that kind of language. Basically, how we're two peas in a pod, and we can't have one without the other.
And then I just want to bring this reflection for people, and then just to show you the state of it. So the UK and the Americas are basically born from each other. They are the same. You know what I mean? Two knots in a cord. But also on that cord is Canada. You know what I mean? Canada was part of that didn't split away. But then look at the progress of Canada. And it was basically, if you look at that chart, we go back to that chart, it's basically the two of them kind of chugged along together. Canada, a little less populated than that. But, our economy's chugged along because we're resource rich in that. But then the last 10 years is just decoupled, and it's almost like East Germany and West Germany. One's going one way and one's going the other way.
North Korea and South Korea.
Yeah, North Korea, South Korea. Canada has adopted the policies of East Germany and North Korea and separated itself from prosperity. And it's plain to see. Like, this is, if you can grasp this concept that we're all knots in a cord and we're trying to cut ourselves off of this knot for some strange reason. There's another, you just got a picture here to show you the stature, and this might make you think that maybe Trump is taller than you say.
If King Charles is about 5'7", which I think he is, does Donald Trump look 6'3"? So I rest my case. QED.
And then this is your favorite Air Force. Here's the red arrows. This is because it's just pretty. I'm just going to show you the red arrows here.
T-1 jets of the Royal Air Force Aerobatics team. And we know that they are better known called the Red Arrows. Let's listen and see what we can hear.
That's good. There you go. And I just want to bring up that we had those flights, and the German flights that were threatened with bombs, and they scrambled some fighter jets, and guess who answered the call again?
Surely it was France, that great military force.
There was NORAD that in Calgary there that answered the call because we couldn't get our jets to start there. Right? They're out there just like trying to jumpstart our
trying to
spin the prop or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, here's a little bit of the press conference with Keir Starmer where Trump gives him a little bit. Let's hear it.
And I told the Prime Minister I would stop it, and it doesn't matter if you call out the military, it doesn't matter what means you use, but it's going to destroys countries from within. And we're actually now removing a lot of the people that came into our country. It's a very hard chore. We were given a very, very bad hand. Millions of people came in from prisons and mental institutions. We have to remove them.
That's good.
And we are removing.
Hey, Trump goes on to his usual thing, but you can see Keir there, just like,
Lots of moments like that in that press conference, and lots of slaps on the back, lots of kind of like alpha male behavior, slapping down the beta male. But Keir Starmer seemed to just swallow it.
I mean, there's a lot of reporters that make a living off just following the royals. I watched a couple of the press conferences, and one of the things they're saying is that it sounds like, and you can tell me more, that you know, that King Charles will hand over the throne to Prince William earlier than in his death, and that they're definitely trotting William and Kate out there a lot more. And then there was Kate and Melania were doing a lot of stuff together, and Trump talks very highly of Prince William as well.
Yeah, well, that would mean abdication if that happened, and that's something that this house, the House of Windsor, doesn't really like to do. It's only happened once, and that was the Edward VIII, the sort of, I don't know if you know much about him. He was king very briefly in the, what was it, 1936, 1937, and he was friends with some very dodgy characters, including associated with the Nazi regime. He was just a clown, basically, and he was forced to abdicate. But the Windsors don't like that, and obviously the Queen, despite being like 1,000 years old, still didn't abdicate.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not so sure he will abdicate, but certainly they've been putting William forward, yeah. But I think that might be because of something that these royal reporters are too tactful to say, which is that nobody knows King Charles's state of health right now, but it's suspected that he has a serious cancer and he's going to die soon. They wouldn't say that, obviously, because they, you know, that would shock and horror. It would be a scandal if the royal reporters said that kind of thing, because they're so tactful.
Slide,
but he is thought to be ill, King Charles, so that's why.
Yeah, and then so Melania and Princess Kate spent some time together. Two pretty classy ladies, for sure.
Kate certainly gets she gets huge plaudits in England. She's really popular.
Not like our friend Harry and I think they said that there was an opportunity for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to kind of like make some amends when they visited thing, but she said that Meghan Markle spent more time plugging her recent wine release instead of like.
Well,
Anyway.
that king I just mentioned, Edward VIII, the abdicator, is 1936. I've just checked. He married an American socialite, quite infamously, and Harry and Edward VIII have been compared often because Meghan Markle, is obviously she's just completely wrong. She's completely wrong for the royal system and the way it works because she's such a she's so keen to advance herself and make money and things like that. You're not supposed to be like that if you want to be in the royal family.
Trump has designated the Antifa as an anti-fascist, Antifa as a terrorist organization. So a lot of people losing their minds over that. So they'll probably all end up in Canada.
The only defense that I've heard people come out with is, oh, but it's not a centralized organization. Therefore, you can't do that. Is that the best you got? Like, it's not really defending the idea, is it? I mean, these people, we were talking about them yesterday, weren't we? I've been around them and spent quite a bit of time with them before they were cool, before everybody knew about them with the election of Trump. And they are just gross. They're like criminal gangs. And they go around and look for fights. They try to provoke people. They damage property. They do things like squatting, and obviously they smash buildings up and vandalize things. They're disgraceful. I mean, I don't know about calling them a terrorist group. That maybe is a bit too far, but they're certainly extraordinarily antisocial and often criminal.
Jimmy Kimmel got his show pulled indefinitely, and also now they say that he's going to face a federal investigation for making false claims. We'll see, I guess. We'll see on that. That's from the Daily Mail, actually, that article. And then this is the left-leaning media losing its mind, saying it's the protection of democracy and freedom of speech. But they sure didn't defend Charlie Kirk's freedom of speech. But listen to Scott Jennings on CNN. I don't know how he stands it on that show.
You use the phrase propaganda, Professor, and I just have to ask you, what do you consider what Jimmy Kimmel was doing every night, or what Stephen Colbert was doing by having on only Democratic guests? Jimmy Kimmel Monday night flat lied about the shooter. Back in the spring, he egged his audience on in cheering on the violence against and wanting, kind of wishing, I think, the downfall of a publicly traded company, Tesla. Do you consider that to be propaganda? Is it good for a business?
Do you consider that to be free speech, Scott?
You use the phrase propaganda.
I'm asking you. You used the words free speech before. Do you consider that free speech?
I consider it to be speech, and he's obviously free to say it.
Will you defend that speech in this country that will defend to the death the speech of others? Will you defend Jimmy Kimmel's speech?
Do I defend Jimmy Kimmel going on television and saying that a shooter from the left?
Do you defend his right to do so?
He has a right to do so, but he does not have a right to have a television show where he lies his ass off to the American people and attacks half this country on a nightly basis.
And there's your CNN host. It's like, whoa, stop making sense. That's enough. That's enough from you. Because it wasn't Trump.
Well,
that
he should have the freedom to insult half or all of the American population every night.
Exactly.
But this was a commercial decision as well, wasn't it? Let's be honest.
It's not ABC that decides. It's not Trump didn't go in there. Trump doesn't run ABC.
Well, let's say the FCC pushed them into doing this because if you're regulated by the FCC, you're not supposed to tell a lie knowingly while presenting a news or news-like program, are you? And that was a lie, or you could interpret that as a lie from Jimmy Kimmel.
Well, there you go.
But I think the reality is these shows, and we've seen this with the Colbert one and some other one which I can't remember now. They're really expensive, aren't they? I don't know why. It's just like
they're losing money.
Just a
like
bloke
crazy.
sat down at a desk telling crap jokes, but they're really expensive, and they don't really want to keep them around, do they?
Jon Stewart show, I think they canceled, right? Was that the one they canceled just recently?
That was ages ago, I think, wasn't it? And then he's back now. But the Colbert one was
that's the Colbert one they canceled because it was like losing money hand over fist. And I just watched a piece from, I think it was Stephen Johnson, or I can't remember now, saying that they were already talking about canceling Kimmel, and they just use this as an excuse to pull the plug.
Yeah, and it's great for them, isn't it? Because then they get to blame Donald Trump, and it's like, it's not, we didn't do this kind of thing. They can make that argument. But I would say, like, the broader point that guy there, Scott Jennings, was trying to make, I think anyway, or he probably did make it in another part of the show, is that these talk shows when I was a kid, and I used to occasionally watch like I can't remember his name now.
David
Letterman, yeah, Letterman and Jay Leno and people like that. I used to watch them, and you compare them to what you see now. The difference is enormous. They just used to tell jokes, and they used to talk about popular culture and like Brad Pitt or something like that, and there'd be some slapstick comedy. Whereas now, it's just like non-stop monologues about how great the Democratic Party is and how evil Donald Trump is. They've morphed into some sort of really stupid like political
propaganda.
Propaganda. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Jay Leno said that he didn't do politics knowingly, like he didn't, and neither did Johnny Carson. They wouldn't do it. But yeah, the Jimmy Kimmel and that, they're basically Colbert and all of them are just propaganda stations, right?
Totally, and it has to be acknowledged. Like that's not what that format was meant to be. It wasn't meant to be like that.
But here's the left-leaning media, like the MSNBC and all that. Not once, when they were justifying, they were actually reading the notes from the assassin and saying, oh, he's just a young kid, But not once did they defend the right of Charlie Kirk to have freedom of speech, right? Do you know what I mean? Like his type of speech is not allowed. Via Rail. Just, you don't want to get mad enough. Here you go. Via Rail handed out $11 million in bonuses last year. And then also the government bailed out the Via Rail to the tune of $1.9 billion. So, hey, bonuses everybody.
It's hilarious, isn't it?
Everybody
so
wins.
We all chipped in to make sure that they could get a nice bonus.
And then I'm going to be interviewing here in 15 minutes this left-wing activist group here, so that's going to be entertaining. Nationwide protests against the Liberal government this weekend. Organizers calling for a common front to resist Carney's policies. The Draw the Line protests are designed to push back against the Prime Minister's support of fossil fuel projects, public service job cuts, increased military support, and enhanced border control. So we don't want a border. Public service jobs are necessary.
Don't want a military.
The raises. Everybody deserves a raise, like Via Rail.
Except the military.
CBC, except the military.
But this woman, the woman that you're going to interview, I believe she's associated with Seniors for Climate. So her priority is the climate. But this Draw the Line thing is a coalition, and they've all come together. Everybody that's upset by Mark Carney's performance so far, and that includes people who are worried about the climate. It includes like pacifists, if it's even possible to really be a pacifist.
Canadian taxpayers, and you can say it in the comments, do you want to make sure there's no public service job cuts? You want to pay more taxes? Make sure that you pay more taxes. So you want to pay more at the gas pump. And also, you want open borders. And what else? And basically, no, you can't heat your home. Are you in?
Or have an economy, really, just be impoverished. I think there are, sadly though, I think at least in the abstract, there are people that desire that in this country. God knows what the percentage is, 10, 15, maybe %. Maybe even more than that, maybe 20.
Quebec wants its own control of immigration. So here's Danielle Smith says she wants all legal means to take control of immigration from Ottawa too. I don't know how they would enforce it with borders because there's no borders between provinces. So without borders, how do you enforce flow of people mobility?
Well, she's talking about having this thing on Alberta driving licenses. It tells you the citizenship
who they are
status.
For voting, for sure. Yeah.
But that's you're right. I mean, the black economy, the black market can absorb people, and you never know they're there really. So.
And you put this in here. Your friend Emmanuel Macron, Keir Starmer's best friend, Emmanuel and Bridget Macron are going to provide. This story has more legs than it deserves. Like it's just unbelievable that they're going to provide photographic evidence showing French lady is a female. Like I don't understand why.
It's because of her. It's because Candace Owens, the Macrons are suing Candace Owens in a US court for defamation. Yeah, but I don't know what the hell got into her. I don't know why she's done this. She started off being like, a lot of people liked her when she came on the scene. She was kind of just like run-of-the-mill opinions-wise, wasn't she? Pretty sort of middle-of-the-road conservative. But she's just gone absolutely bananas, hasn't she? She's just a complete nutter.
I would say somebody that's even got more bananas than her is Don Lemon, running around the streets trying to be relevant.
I don't think he was ever anything but bananas. He was never normal, was he?
He likes bananas. Didn't he try to put it? He tried to. Was there like somebody said he tried to rape somebody in a gay bar or something too?
Oh dear. Not with a banana, I hope.
This is from the food professor. Onions from Egypt labeled as Canadian. Green beans from Guatemala labeled as Canadians. Like, just put that Canadian flag on there. No, it's the one before that. But yeah, there you go. And then somebody put up a sign that's going viral. I guess people are really starting to worry about their safety. If you break into my home, your safety ends where my family's safety begins. And I said, like, we like to try to end on a positive note, and all the stuff that's going on here in Canada and this non-transparency. You got to demand more from your MLAs and MPs. That's your money they're wasting. Elon Musk preparing for the last launch of Starship 2. There you go. I'm sure right now there's a lot of people that wish they could go on that thing. Right? Put your hand up if you want to go on the next Starship.
But it's weird, isn't it? Elon's never done it, has he? He's never
gone into space.
He's never
yet?
gone up on one of his own rockets. Yeah. I find that really peculiar, but I don't know if you know why that is.
I don't. But I'll volunteer to go.
Who else went? Katy Perry. She went, didn't she? Not with Musk, but with someone else.
That's the astronauts. That's the I'm a great expert. I'm an astronaut. They basically went into like at high orbit, right?
Yeah,
Not even they didn't even go into orbit. They did this, right? Because you can go in a plane and you can get out of in gravity, like gravity free. Like you can just go above the atmosphere so far.
Yeah.
Anyway. That's our show. Like in 13 minutes, apparently this lady's calling in and we're going to talk about draw the line. And she's going to explain to us why we need to draw the line. And then later on today, let's see if we can get the times here. Somewhere I have a calendar that tells me all these things.
Talking about Eleanor Sturkow's later, isn't she?
Yeah, so Eleanor Sturkow is at noon. And then after that, Tom Dias, the mayor of Kelowna, is at 1. So there you go. Should be interesting. We're going to talk about crime in most of those, like the thing that sign's all about, crime in Canada. And how people need to feel safe in their homes. Seems like
particularly their Kelowna homes, which have been threatened a bit lately, haven't they?
Seems like a fairly basic ask. And then maybe if we can get people to ask for accountability and transparency, and we should start saying, no, we don't want no more of these billion-dollar slush funds where nobody you get to say, oh no, for confidentiality, for security reasons, we can't tell you where we spent the money. Again, in Gaza, we spent money on climate change. I don't know if that's like at the top of their list right now. Do you think climate change will be at the top of the list in Gaza right now? Hey? I think, like a lot of people starving in Gaza, are they saying, oh, I don't want to eat those vegetables because they're not raised in a climate-friendly environment? Did we lose Ian there? I think maybe he can't hear us, though. Anyway, we'll sign off anyway. Thank you for watching Now Media.
We don't just report the news. We live here too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories that matter to all of us. No government funding, no outside influence. Kelowna Now, local, independent. News you can trust.